I crushed the hopes of a young man in Canada and made American men look terrible. TLDR at the bottom. This is a story of the meanest thing I may have ever said to a person. My buddy was getting married and decided to have a bachelor party. We choose a festival in Montreal called Osheaga for the destination. I did what a best bro would do and listened to all the artists who were playing. I created a Spotify playlist of all their best songs for the brothers, then I set up a stage schedule as a baseline, just for funsies, for each day. Basically, because I researched it so much I became a mini festival guide, so whenever we were all hanging out at a base, people would be like, where to next? Now, 13 of us went. There was almost 0 times we were all together outside of the headliners, but then magic happened. We all ended up in the same spot on day 3 midday. With everyone present they all were like, okay Mag, where we heading? Lead the way. And I started to beeline to a stage we had to get to in order to see the band on time. Small tangent, this festival had giant balloons that floated over the porta-potties, so if you needed to go to the bathroom you can just look to the sky and see balloons to find them. So as we were walking, a young man comes up to me and goes, "Yo man. I'm just a kid, looking for a squat." I said, "What?" He mumbled again sounding high, "I'm just a kid looking for a squat." Leading this entourage and annoyed by the interruption, I looked him square in the eyes with a face full of agitation and said, "Dude, you can go take a shit, over there," and I pointed forcefully to the balloons nearby. Bro's face looked like his soul just cracked in half and he walked away, crestfallen, into the crowd. My buddy then ran up to me and said, "Dude, what the fuck did you say to that guy?" I looked at him and said, "What?" He came up to me and asked where he could take a squat, so I said, "You can go take a shit over there," and pointed at the balloons again. My friend looked at me with shock in his eyes and said, "No dude," he said, "I'm just a squid looking for a squad." A squad is the scientific term for a group of squid. Realization dawned on me. This young man, a fellow brother from Canada, probably a super chill dude, was bold enough to ask to join our group because he was solo at the concert. Something I have a lot of respect for, is doing something like that isn't easy for a lot of people. And when he approached an entourage of American men to ask if he could join, I told him he could go take a shit over there. I'm sorry my guy, if you are out there reading this, please know I would love if you would join our crew and I'll buy your drinks the rest of the night too. You are welcome in our squad, always. TL, Dr. Solo concert goer asked if he could join our crew. I misunderstood what he said and told him he could go take a shit over there. I'm really bummed about it still. Let me analyze this story for you. The story opens with a title that blends personal shame and cultural guilt in a self-deprecating way. I crushed the hopes of a young man in Canada and made American men look terrible. This sets the tone, a light-hearted confession with underlying remorse. It immediately signals to the reader that what follows is an exploration of a misstep, not a boast or a humble brag, but a sincere reflection on a moment that left a deeper impression than expected. The tone is comedic, but the emotional stakes are real. The story begins by placing us in a celebratory context, a bachelor party in Montreal at the Osheaga Music Festival. The narrator's role as the best bro is established quickly, showing initiative, consideration, and enthusiasm by curating a playlist and organizing a stage schedule. This builds an image of someone responsible, attentive, and slightly type A in a fun way. It's a setup for contrast, someone who planned so much, yet couldn't see the twist coming. The detail of creating a schedule just for funsies also adds warmth and personality. It paints the narrator as well-meaning and passionate about making the event enjoyable for others. As the party progresses, we learn about the group dynamic, 13 men rarely in the same place at once, except during headliners. This is important context. It sets up the rare, special moment of unity. Magic happened when they're all together midday on day 3. When everyone looks to the narrator to lead, it positions him with a bit of festival authority. He's not just one of the brothers now, he's the unofficial guide. This heightens the tension. What follows will be a moment where his leadership is interrupted, and how he handles it matters. Then comes the approach. A young man steps out of the crowd and says something cryptic. "I'm just a kid looking for a squat." This is the pivotal moment. The narrator, caught off guard and distracted by the weight of leading a group, mishears the phrase. His irritation bubbles up, and in a blunt, curt reply, he gestures toward the porta-potties and says, "Dude, you can go take a shit, over there." The line lands like a punch in the gut for the young man. The description, "his soul just cracked in half," is vivid and theatrical but rings emotionally true. You can feel the narrator realizing something is wrong, even if he doesn't quite know what yet. The real twist comes when a friend runs up and delivers the shocking correction. The guy didn't say he needed a squat, He said he was a squid looking for a squad, a weird, poetic, goofy, vulnerable, beautiful way of saying, "Can I hang with you guys?" This twist is perfect. It retroactively transforms the entire situation. What first seemed like a confusing encounter becomes a missed connection of immense emotional weight. The reader instantly reinterprets everything and shares in the narrator's horror and remorse. The next paragraph delivers the gut punch of empathy. The narrator reflects not only on what was said, but on what it meant. The stranger, a solo concertgoer, approached a group of strangers with open-hearted boldness. He made a quirky, creative overture, one that required courage. The narrator acknowledges how hard that must have been. It's not just about the misunderstanding now, it's about the deep, accidental rejection of someone trying to connect. The emotion shifts from laughter to aching guilt. The juxtaposition of American brashness and Canadian friendliness adds a cultural layer, but it's secondary to the human one. In the final section, the narrator does what makes this story land so well. He offers a heartfelt apology. It's sincere, humble, and deeply self-aware. "Please know I would love if you would join our crew and I'll buy your drinks the rest of the night." It's more than an apology, it's a wish to undo the moment. A desire to reach through time and correct the damage done. The emotional arc is clear. It begins as a funny bachelor party anecdote, turns into a surreal misunderstanding, and ends with genuine remorse for having, unintentionally, crushed someone's hopeful spirit. Themes and structure. Miscommunication and human vulnerability. The core of the story is a misheard phrase, but what gives it weight is the narrator's recognition of the emotional risk the young man took. A funny misunderstanding becomes a tragedy of social courage being rejected. The burden of leadership. The narrator is in a position of social responsibility in that moment. His focus on managing his group ironically blinds him to someone reaching out. It's a quiet commentary on how being in charge, even casually, can make us less present. The long tale of regret. What elevates this story is that the narrator still thinks about this moment. It didn't pass as a quick oops. It haunts him. That's what makes it a compelling story. It lives rent-free in his head and heart. Self-reflection without self-pity. The narrator never wallows, but he owns his mistake. He's not asking for forgiveness from the reader, he's offering it to the young man. That gives the apology more power. Humor as a Trojan horse. The comedic elements, the absurd misunderstanding, the porta-potty balloons, the phrase "squid looking for a squad" make the story palatable and entertaining, but they also lull the reader into a false sense of security before the emotional depth hits. Why it works so well. This story captures a perfect blend of comedy, cringe, empathy, and moral growth. It's about a moment, a brief interaction, but it reflects something much larger: how we treat strangers, how we lead in groups, and how one misunderstood sentence can become a memory that lingers forever. It's also a rare kind of villain story, where the villain is the narrator, but in the most human, fallible, and forgivable way. You root for him to get redemption, even if he can't. Because we've all been there, said the wrong thing, missed the signal, shut someone down without realizing it. And the fact that he wrote this story, with humility, humor, and a hope that maybe that guy will see it someday? That's the redemption.